You know, I've been playing Hisoutensoku for the past 10 or so years. I'm sure to be told, if we want to be pedantic, it has been more than that. Not by much, but has been a bit more. I've been playing Soku since the tail end of 2013. Though, realistically, I've been playing the entire genre since forever, as I played a plethora of fighting games and more casual will until I think around 2009. Well, the 2009 to 2014 era, which is the time where my interest and love for the genre truly cemented itself. And it is also the time where I got really fascinated by the idea of getting good, getting better, like being actually efficient in them. Um, if you go backwards, I'm sure you'll notice that the 2009 time was the Street Fighter 4 era, which was indeed the game I played at the time. And it really refined my execution. It's a pretty classic time for a lot of people when it came to fighting games. The, whatchamacallit, 09ers. So, the reason why I'm mentioning any of this, it is not random, obviously, but I noticed that I got some old replays from that time when I started playing Hisoutensoku in, 2014. Well, I don't really have the 2014 replays. Besides, even if I did, those will be kind of boring because you will see someone that is just struggling to play the game, which is not exactly new. But I do have replays from slightly further ahead, more specifically, the tail end of 2015 and also 2016 in general. Those are way more interesting. I think it will be fascinating and maybe even useful to look at one of them and then compare to something more modern to see how it changed and also just, you know, maybe we can discuss about it in some way. I think there is a lot to talk about when it comes to this kind of stuff, especially when you think about it. That's a 10 years old replay. There is a lot going on in there. That's 10 years. Wow. Wow. Anyhow, let's check it out. Well, hello there. So, from this part on, I'm gonna be more or less unscripted. The previous part was a bit more scripted, so I'm just gonna be doing a thing. So, new year, new me, and 10 years. So I feel it would be interesting to observe the difference that 10 years can make. But not just in gameplay, but more of a general thing. You see, I'm gonna spoiler you what we're looking at right now, right? So the first one is the 2015 replay versus Alex. I think the Alice replays are probably the most interesting. I remember at the time that I still struggle in this kind of matchup. Long range, having to go in. I'm accustomed to it at this point. I've been playing the genre for far too long to not understand the general concept of zoning or holding range. But I think the most interesting thing is that probably the Alice matchup at the time was one of the most confusing for me. To the point that my approach, generally speaking, was to rather than actually get better at it, it was to find an alternative solution. More specifically, alt skills in this case. I remember even at the time that because I didn't really want to play the expected decks and expected skills and play the flowchart, at least the known flowchart, I ended up discovering that Lotus and Scat is actually a really good alt against Alice. In this replay, I basically just win because I abuse the hell out of it. It's pretty aggressive like that. But it doesn't really... Besides that, it doesn't really do anything else. You'll see me... Here, it's gotta be a bit... It's gotta be a bit of a mess, but let's look at it. So... The movement is... oh man. The 2Cs are actually pretty on point, and surprisingly enough, I'm already dashing behind the opponent from under, which I guess Yomu just allows you to do that. Like, it's just a character that pushes you in that direction. The pressure is, yeah. Surprisingly, my Okizeme is normalish, which is surprisingly, honestly. That J6D though, you know, just dashing forward is awful. And also full screen, just throwing projectiles and then again J6D. Like, that is, it's crusty to look at this. This was 10 years ago, and while these like shapes, like these, you can see the shades of like what I already do, and I do it better. It is just, it's funny to look at this. It's pretty nice. I think it's worth noting a very specific thing about this. At the time, I didn't really have, you know, replay on for every single fight. Meaning that if I have a replay from like this long ago, it's because I wanted to save this. And again, spoiler, I win this fight. And the only reason I can imagine that I saved this for posterity, it's because I decide to apply Lotus Stance Cut, and it actually worked out in my favor. So I probably saved this replay as like to say, yes, this idea, this strategy actually holds something. It means something. It does something, which is, you know, kind of cute. And it was true, it worked. But look at that, look at that, look at this. I get hit here, jump back, go even more back, put myself into the corner, throw projectiles, multiple bullets. It works out. It really does. But here, after getting hit, realistically, just that, you know, or even better. Like, well, that was awful. Huh? Can I not just? That's bad. Huh? Figures. Yeah, okay, there we go. Lock. Oh my god, the cross up. Yeah, like, I don't like this one. The first idea was surprisingly the best one. Well, go figure. Like, you can't... I could just hold my space here. I don't really do that, which is... Yeah, again. It's interesting how I just go backwards. Again, I could just play more defensive like this. See, like, or again, you can just jip, hop, hoop. There we go. You know, there's a bunch of options here that like don't really give up space. And it's fine to look at like this old replay and be like, wow, that's all of this just wrong. What's going on here? Let's not talk about it. So I go backwards, right, and set that up. And it works because I do like a double projectile that's not really that good. Like in reality, even just doing a Lotus Stance Cut here, it's like. This one makes somewhat sense because, like, my god, here. Ideally, the correct option here by me should be to hard land like this, so I get to cancel into Lotus Stance Cut alone. Which is more than enough and doesn't, like, waste extra meter. It's fine, it generates meter for me, but, like, you know, optimizing. Pressure is actually kind of funny because, like, it clearly lacks intent. I'm just pressing buttons I vaguely know they're good. Look at this. Look at this. I throw a Lotus Stance Cut, don't cancel all of it, which is impressive, honestly. Wow, okay. And then I just dash forward, full screen. No, like, there is no 2B, high jump 9. There is, like, nothing that could be, like, you know, play neutral. There is no neutral. There is no setting neutral. I'm just dashing forward. It works out, but like I don't really do much with it. What a combo! Ooh, what a combo! Ooh, let's not get too good. Oh man, the J6D. Okay. Okay, check this again. Like I jump forward and jump back. J44. I'm setting up the land cancel J5B, but then I don't really use it because I throw Lotus Stance Cut. This is what I mean. Like if we just, this is fine, but like. It's far stronger to just do that, because I already have a projectile set up on screen. What am I doing? It doesn't This is just a double bullet that doesn't. I already have the function. Why I'm throwing another one and then another one. I mean, I'm holding space and I'm forcing the opponent to deal with this like really obnoxious projectile, but I could just go in. You know what I mean? My opponent is sitting in the corner. I don't need all this. There we go. I go in, but I do this awkward like J6D, J66, and then I'm myself into the corner. What is going on? Look at that nothing burger of a movement. There's nothing happening. Just a bunch of like nonsense. Hisoutensoku does massive damage on just striking the opponent, especially on maxed level. So like most of the interaction here are being won by like random strikes. I block just enough to not die. Surprisingly, I'm already utilizing. This is all again. This is a 10 years old like replay. I'm already utilizing the. A bit like worse, I guess, but like the JD9 top float like this. But then I don't block. Like I could just block there and I get. There we go. There we go. It's interesting to see like some of the. It's impressive that a lot of the strategies I use now are like something that I've been utilizing so long. Like 2015 was more or less 1 year, 2 years after I started playing the game. So I'm surprised that a lot of these tactics are something that I actually applied, like, or learned quite fast, honestly. Here it's almost like an optimal combo, like that's pretty good. The damage is not bad. I mean, it's supposed to be slightly different, but it's a reason setup probably. I presume. Like, I don't. It's been 10 years, but that look like it. What is that? Stop doing forward and then going backwards. Just all the space, my guy. Just all the space. It's fine. Look at this. It's fine. What are you doing? Just jump in. There we go. It's that easy. What are you doing? What are you doing? Setting up my projectile. You're not even using it. My friend, what are you doing? What was that? Look at this. Jump forward, G2D, add land? That is nothing. You're making things up. Okay, I think the only reason I saved this replay outside of the Hisoutensoku, it's probably this. I dash forward, like I recognize that the opponent has done a projectile, so dash forward, throw a sword, they do our projectile, and because they high jump cancel out of this, there is no time to block this. Yeah, it's a jump punish. I guess I was hype about this, which, fair enough, it's kind of a random, like, you know. There's some, like, okay, look at this. The idea here, the general idea of holding the corner, it's pretty good. Like, I'm holding the ground, jump in. But then, for some reason, I do J2C, jump back, J5B. This cannot be, like, misinput or something. Because I'm jumping backward, J5B. And then going back in, like, huh? I get the idea. It's awful, though. I get the idea, but it's awful. Just, like, all of this could have just been this. All of this could just have been an email. Good to see. Neutral jump. Neutral jump. See? I'm so good. I'm beating myself from... I don't like that, the sound of that. I'm beating myself from 10 years ago. Damn, I'm good. Oh man, just all your space, it's fine. Fly up, fly down. What was that back there? And again, go back to like just doing Hisoutensoku, activate random clone, completely random clones, mashing 6A out of a panic, I presume. Like I die. There's a really high aggression in how I'm playing. Hisoutensoku max, which is insanely strong, and just trying to crush through like. Charge attack, which is, you know, it's a strategy. Mashing, big time mashing. Look, I had so much life lead, and now I'm like exploding constantly because I cannot like calm down. They was not too bad. Why are you going backwards? You have projectile on screen. Like I think at the time I didn't fully understand how the dolls worked, so I just kind of went backwards all the time. This did nothing. Like, I'm losing so many orbs in speed because I'm just doing things. Look, I'm almost like I lost so much HP. I win this again. The spoiler. I win this. but the neutral is so, there we go, the neutral is so, there are ideas, but it feels so messy. It's hard to like it's funny to look at this, and I have notes. I watched those replays before already, so I have notes. And like, what did I write here? Say there's a difference in intent, yeah. The way I play is like very random. I'm just throwing my gameplay towards my opponent and hoping they just kind of die, which works. It does end working, but it is ugly and it doesn't really do anything. There's also say use sparingly or incorrectly. That is also true. Me wrote the script. Blocking secondary blood comes first. Also true. I almost died. Like looking at it, it's like I almost died by refusing to basically like block or engage properly, and obviously the entire inability to like hold the space and just playing this scaredy cat, not die, kill before getting killed approach, which I still do sometimes. Like I mean, 10 years difference might seem like a lot, but some things never change. You know what I mean? So. The other replay, spoiler alert, I'm going to lose, but the play is a lot more clean. Obviously I lose still, which it mostly comes down, ironically, to the opposite end of that. I believe, if I remember correctly, to give you some context on this replay, it was more of a practice like round against someone, so like I'm not really trying to win as much as just casual practice, which is fine. Like, I mean, that's the point. I'm practicing things. And I'm going a lot more slower, which is how I end up mostly losing, because ironically, in the first game, despite being very aggressive and screwing up a lot, well, I'm talking a lot over this, I'm not really talking about the game, the hyper-aggression does give me the, points. Like, eventually, if you jump enough on the opponent, you may get a strike, and if you get a strike, you may get, damage. That is what is happening basically. Well, here, well, yeah, that is not really happening. So okay, let me get into this, right? First of all, the neutral jump, GFIB, land cancel. Look at that, clean. Let's gameplay, as the youngins kids say, absolute cinema. Look at that. I don't do anything with it, but you know what I mean. Immediately get the corner, like immediately, corner gaming, let's go. A lot of jumps, kind of barely blocked that one. Okay, I didn't. No, something I didn't really use really enough in the first game was the normal jumping. I think it was mostly just high jumping a lot. Normal jumping is extremely strong because like it's a shorter jump, but like you can just block out of it from the 7th frame. So like exactly, there we go. Look at this. Old Genki would not, like 10 years old, 10 years ago Genki would not have done this. I'm kind of annoyed about this. I think I was playing a bit like more for scratch, like again more chill, because I would have. Usually I do this. I would have done. I'm usually whenever I block in the air, I tend to border escape forward. So I'm surprised this is not happening here. This replay, by the way, it's not like months old. It's like days ago. Like I'm think like two weeks, something like this. It's extremely recent. Okay, I didn't set up the GFIB. Usually I do that. Neutral jump, block. There we go. That's clean movement. Pressure is interesting. It's a lot more calm, bit more chill. Didn't really cancel. Oh, set up the diamond dust. Cute, very cute. The classic. There we go. The reset. Screw up the reset. Interesting enough, even 10 years ago, I was still like doing resets in the corner. Not much has changed, I suppose. I also put myself into the corner again. Damn it. Not much has changed. I think the most interesting thing about like looking back now and like then and now is that I jump a lot forward into blocking. Like I abuse a lot the ability to block to control the screen. I just present my character in front of you, and you get scared about my option, and I just block, and it's like, okay, cool, that's fine. There we go. 2B, there we go, setting the neutral, right? I wasn't doing that in the other replay at all. Zero intent. Neutral jump, neutral jump, neutral jump, neutral normal jump, combo. Ooh, reset. No, okay. The Yogi is surprisingly still the same. I'm surprised about that, to be honest. Like, I'm dropping a lot of like pressure in the corner in this replay. Kind of awkward. I believe I'm playing a bit more chill. Again, I'm not really playing aggressive, so I'm just kind of trying to hold my space. So actually, I'll probably point something out here because I'm gonna do a pressure string with clones, and it's gonna be very stupid. Very silly. The entire replay, there is two differences between those two replays. Well, many, but the two mains I think are really interesting to me. Is that in this replay, I'm clearly a lot more chill, a lot more slow, just kind of just playing, just observing the game and taking it slow. The reason I point this out is that usually nowadays, whenever I play, I'm trying to let the opponent play so I can also see what the opponent characters does and how I can actually like negate or make it harder for my opponent to play the game, basically. And it's interesting. I think it's interesting because the old replays clearly shows none of that. I'm extremely aggressive. I want the opponent dead. I'm not really paying attention to what is going on. My interest is not dying, and it is also winning. I talk about this sometime. Well, obviously there's no video about this, but I talk about this often, where it's important that when you want to get better at fighting games, you need to recognize that if you play to beat someone, then you probably end up learning a lot less about your opponent because you don't give them chances to play the game. So sometimes it's pretty useful to hold back, either against a stronger opponent or even a weaker opponent. It doesn't matter much. Holding back a bit so that you get more data. Again, you're practicing, so if you're trying to like learn something, it can be useful to let your opponent play the game more and play a more defensive game or like hold space type of game so that they are allowed to commit mistakes or again play the game, and then you can punish those mistakes or punish whatever they are trying to set up. This allows you to observe how they play, but also, get better at two different things, both countering the opponent and also your approaches to that. The moment you negate a lot of the opponent's game, be either by hyper-aggression or just killing them really fast, well, that doesn't give them time to play the game, and then you don't see really anything. You just get a tally mark on a wall that says you won. I think that's interesting here because, like, I said this, and then, clones doing a really obnoxious string that's like as really hard to the counterplay is really hard. Again, spoiler, I actually lose this in the end. Set the neutral. Sure. 6B, dash forward. 2B, jump forward. Which, yeah, okay. The idea is good though. This is the thing. The idea, correct. The execution kind of didn't work, but the idea was correct. Dash forward, go behind. That's fake. Why did I do 4A? Huh? Question mark? What's going on here, my friend? What's going on? I'm genuinely doing 4A. That's weird. That's okay. The spoiler, I'm supposed to just dial. I'm like extremely close. Jump in, don't get a combo, the double. Look at this, is pretty good. Like, this is an example of that. Here I could just cancel further, but I just let my opponent do a jump and then I chase down later. Just kind of chilling out again. It really shows like I'm just kind of a bit missing around. Lots of overblocking. Mind you, when you're trying to like do well, overblocking can be a negative, But it is really useful when you're trying to, again, learn the opponent or practice other things. This is also funny. Big fan of this. Love neutral jumping, always good. Basically universally good. Keeping it simple. Alright. Big pressure reset. Wait, did they get the replays wrong? Did I actually win this one? Oh shoot, I think I do. Oh, there's another replay. I was. I guess I'll keep it in. I was supposed to utilize a replay where I lose. I play a lot more chill, and eventually I lose. Like I'm using. I think it was still Lost and Scott, or maybe it was for Voice Slash. No, it was Lost and Scott, and I was supposed to lose as a sort of like interesting representation that. You can also cherry pick replays, right? I could have cherry pick a replay where I win, but by mistake I've done that. I was not supposed to. I'll keep this as is because I think it's still interesting. I think it's funny to have like this. The point I was trying to do still kind of stands. In this replay, the second one, if we go back to it, the gameplay I have is a lot more chill. I'm letting the opponent play out like whatever they are trying to do, and then I try to punish as much as I can. Like here I'm taking, like the 5B doesn't really go anywhere because ideally I should have done something like this. Sorry, there we go. Which would have gave me a combo, but I really didn't. Because again, more chill, just observing like action to reaction, and then it was supposed to be a losing game. Like there was some significance to that. Ah man, that sucks. I'm not redoing this. I'm lazy. I think the most interesting thing about these two replays, which my commentary is not really highlighting nearly enough, is that all my actions are more intentional. My movement rarely goes backwards. My offense is a bit more calm and collected, sometimes to a negative degree even, because I don't really get anything out of this. But it is a lot like it shows that there is an interesting evolution. The two replays, looking them back to back like this, like wow, night and day. It doesn't really feel as this because again, in the end I win in both. Again, should not have happened. Sometimes I do this like really mindless J6D, but like you kind of have to sometimes. It's part of like the movement. Classic reset. It's kind of funny that both games have it. Lost and Scat again, obviously. The usage of Lost and Scat is a lot more refined here because I use it as just a way to like bother my opponent and go in. Like 2B, jump forward or back, press A, win the interaction. Re-jump because that's plus. All my options here are like more this like a take. This is an intent. I'm doing something because I know what's going to happen next. So at least I have enough of an idea. Here I do like a neutral jump because I'm trying to like either check my opponent moving forward or just like safely control the corner in front of me. So the point I go backwards to have more space to control. There we go. Strangely, I don't reset that. Usually I reset that the jump in specifically, like the J5A, J6A. I remember, I think I remember there's one thing about this specific Alice, and that I told them post game is that they don't tech roll. They really don't. They need to tech roll more. I'm sure if you're watching this thing, you might recognize yourself and tech roll more. Crush, right. So, what's really interesting here, right? The two replays are pretty short, all in all, and they both end up with me winning against an Alice. The way I win, though, I think that's the interesting part. In the first game, it's, again, the hyper-aggression, Lost and Scout playing the game for me. But if you pay attention to this one, while Lost and Scout is part of it, most of the results come from me correctly utilizing my resources, the clones. I'm using them far better than the previous replay. But also, I'm just playing a better neutral. Like, the core fundamental neutral is straight up better. The gameplay in terms of, like, my opponent is obviously different. It's not the same... it's not the same Alice, obviously. But they are obviously pretty good. Good enough that old me will have struggled pretty hard. Nice crush. Nice. We've seen this already. Well, I'm not sure why I'm watching still, but oh, 5 orb crush. I'm so accustomed to managing to do this every once in a while. This has lost all the shine. Doing a 5 orb crush is, especially using clones, not that hard, mind you. It is a flex. I don't know, you tell me, but clones allow me to do that, I guess. So there isn't anything specific to this. I wasn't really like planning some grand like presentation here. I just felt like doing this because it's been, again, 10 years since I started playing the game, and seeing the stark difference between old me and new me is cool. I think it's worth giving some extra context about like the two, again, 10 years, right? The game, if I go and pick all my 2015, 17, 16, that kind of era games, they're all really hyper aggressive. Like, I'm trying to abuse my speed and just punch my opponent a lot. And it really comes down to this kill or be killed mentality in a sense, where I'm not really trying to learn my opponent as much as like trying to survive the fight, which, as I was saying, it doesn't really allow you to learn much from the opponent or the game or anything. You're too focused on like trying not to lose to actually learn the game. As I was again, this is why I was supposed to utilize a losing replay. I was supposed to utilize a losing replay because the entire point was that if you want to get better, and this was the entire like actual focus of the video, is that you gotta play a bit worse to get better. Again, analyzing your opponent, observing what happens, letting them play, and even fail at stopping them from doing their own thing is part of that learning experience. Most of my saved old replays are all saved replays because they were all, oh, I did a really, really cool thing, and I saved them, or I won, sorry, and I saved them. Most of my modern games are a lot more, well, there is no team because I always save them. There is this function here, if you have the game and you have not done it, it's right here, replay save. There is always, as player, as spectator, never and always ask. I remember long ago it wasn't always ask. And I never saved them, so that was completely useless. But nowadays I just save them all the time. And that just replays that I utilize to get better. Because the focus shift. That also made me better. Getting better at fighting games is not just, doing better. Winning more. It's also recognizing your flaws and working on them. And I think that's really, it's cool that I can look at this. I look at these old 2 replays. Don't mind those 2. Those are new, fresh 2026 replays. It's cool that I can look at those 2. And yeah, there has been a change in the approach. The gameplay is smoother, it's more full of intent, and it's just, yeah. Well, also the message was like, the other message I was trying to convey here is that, like, if you keep at something, you'll probably do better. As long as you try your best and fix your mistakes, you become better at something. Which is a very obvious thing, but it's really easy to, get lost and not pay attention to it. Alright. I've been going all over the place with this one. Yeah, it's been 30 minutes. Ooh, that's busy. Well, I don't really got anything else to say here. It was a mess. I hope it was interesting to hear my thoughts about like it's extremely old replays. 10 years. Oh my god, that's. Can you believe that 2000, the early 2000, like 2001, was 50 years ago? I can't. It was, it was 37 years ago. Oh, I. Y'all ever played Crash Bandicoot 2? Pretty good game. I did. Anyway. Well, that's all for whatever I do next. Probably a more scripted video. I just wanted to look at my past for a moment. Both for me and again. If you like something and you wish to be better, keep at it. Keep fixing your mistakes. Look inward and recognize that to do better, you have to do worse sometimes. Frustration and difficulty doing something better requires failing. Failure is just part of that growth. I guess it's on you and I got a bit sentimental. Anyway, I hope you have a great rest of your day and maybe the year even. Yeah, the entire year. Have a good year if you can. I'll see you whenever I see you. Yeah, sure. Have a good day. Bye bye.